Not gonna lie, pretty annoyed by Mikal Bridges going on the Roommates podcast with his best friends, Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart, baiting questions about Barclays Center not being as loud for his three as it was for Jalen Brunson's, and Bridges not defending the Net fans. I mean, I get it. It's not the Garden, and I get it's not the Knick history, but you have to defend your fans. You have to defend the fan base. I thought it was really insulting to just take their baiting questions and going with it. Like you got to be at the cool table with the cool dudes talking about how awesome it is to be a Knick fan. I get it sucks right now, and the Nets suck, but defend the Nets. That was bullshit.
Just a couple bad weather fans representing New York, talking all things sports. Man, what could go wrong? We got Alex, who's a fan of the Knicks, and Mike of the Nets. The yin-yang of the tri-state, place your bets on the Yankees, Giants, Mets, or Jets. Yeah, you should listen if they're sparking your interest. If you made a vow to your team, don't break it. Bad weather fans is the relation.
That's right. This is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 209. Mike Biseglia, Alex Benesowitz, and we are presented by DraftKings, your Nets and Knicks home, as we are in the NBA All-Star break. Didn't watch a second of it, but we do have some Nets news. Jacque Vaughn fired. We'll dive right into that as we're in this waiting period with both the Knicks and Nets to play games. We will also discuss the Roommates podcast that featured Mikal Bridges with two of his former Villanova teammates in Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. Mikal had some interesting comments there. We'll discuss those. Alex, how are you doing? Good evening.
I'm doing well. If you support the podcast, make sure you subscribe, follow, give us a thumbs up, like 5 stars everywhere, wherever you are. Thank you. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. You know, Jalen Brunson stayed healthy throughout the All-Star weekend. I was very happy about that. Jacob Toppin lost the dunk contest. Who cares? It was boring. Nets fire their coach, man. And I have the perfect coach for the Nets to hire, actually, Mike.
Who?
Perfect coach to set them up for the next couple of years.
Is it sarcastic or a real
big
answer?
Free agent. It's halfway. Get a big free agent down the road. They should hire Rick Brunson as their head coach in the offseason. Then you can, in another year, Jalen Brunson opts out to get his big payday. Maybe he wants to join his Villanova teammate in Brooklyn and play for his dad. What do you think about that?
Not happening. Not happening.
I'm not serious.
Not happening, Alex. I'm not in a fun mood. I heard Evan Roberts say Jay Wright as a name, as an idea. I'd be okay with that.
Of course, but I honestly give Kevin Ollie a chance. He's a good coach, won a national title in college at UConn. But I feel like you're doing Jacque Vaughn all over again.
Well,
like, you know what I mean?
Two-part. We'll get into all this. I was texting with a diehard UConn basketball fan, and they were like, Kevin Ollie is the worst coach in the history of drawing up plays. Okay. It's like, okay, we'll find out. I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt.
All right.
Who knows?
Interim. So what? Let's take us through your reaction. When did you find out? Right away, obviously you did. But like when? What? How did you react? What did you do? Where were you? What were you doing?
Yeah, I have Woj and Shams. They're the only two guys I have on alert. So if they tweet something, I will get a notification. Just because it's just how I have my phone set up right now.
Alerts on?
I do not.
You'll be like ping, 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 ping.
Yeah, no. But what's the opposite of alerts? No, I'm just kidding. So this is the third time this has happened where I've been in a meeting at work and this has happened. And I was in the meeting and working with like one of the people I love working with who's an audio engineer. And we're going through so I do podcasting full time, believe it or not. And we're going through some podcast stuff for our company. And all of a sudden we're talking. I go, oh shit. And he's like, what happened? I'm like, nothing. I'm sorry.
The Nets fired.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So that was how I saw it. I like Jacque Vaughn. I think he was a great person. I think he could not be a better guy, a better man, and just overall just a great human being. But it was clear that he was not a very good head coach. In particular, this season, things went off the rails. He lost the team. I mean, once you lose the team, you're done. We didn't talk about this on our last podcast. I don't remember the timing, but the Nets, I mean, they got destroyed by the Celtics, obliterated. They lost 50-something points. They were down 40 at the end of the first half, and you could just tell there. a getaway day before the All-Star break, the Nets had quit. I mean, they'd absolutely quit on their head coach. And besides the X's and O's, and if you like the scheme, once your players quit on your head coach, it is over. And it was very clear from their so-called leader, Mikal Bridges, that he did not want him there as the head coach anymore. Things he subtly said, or not so subtle, in the press conferences after the game, after losses. The one, I don't remember exactly now, but after the Celtic loss, basically, in so many words, saying, we don't have an identity. We don't know what we're doing. We know what Spencer Dinwiddie's thoughts were on Jacque Vaughn. He quit on him. Good or bad, right or wrong, he did quit. And that was a trend. So I think for the Nets, I like that Kevin Ollie's an established coach. I like that the guys respect him. Dennis Smith Jr. in a post game had talked about how much he loves Kevin Ollie. There was a speech Kevin Ollie gave that motivated the team after the Charlotte loss, then before the Orlando win. So at the very least, he has the respect for now of the team. And for Net fans who don't have their draft pick, who you want to win games, you at least go into this going with some optimistic hope that, I'm not saying they're going to be good, God knows, but I think you just at least feel like, okay, maybe there's some sort of response here in the short term. Now, in the long term, they got way bigger problems, right? Like Sean Marks is a disaster. Joe Tsai is a disaster. And right now, it does feel like the first step and maybe something positive happening with this franchise. But I've been the biggest Sean Marks guy forever, but it's pretty clear at this point. They just need to hit the reset button, and go into it with the new regime of, you got a bajillion draft picks, from other teams. Let's go into this and have a fresh start. Unfortunately, they don't have that. But at least it's a start in a sense where you feel a little better about the second half of the season because they have a new head coach. And it's less like, hey, I love Kevin Ollie, let's see what he can do. And more just, Jacque Vaughn had lost the locker room and it was toast.
Yeah, it was over. And they're only 2.5 out of the play-in tournament and 4.5 out of the 9 seed. So it's like they're right there to get in the play-in tournament if maybe the new coach sparks them. And, they always say that. So.
Can I just say one thing real quick? And then I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah, it's fine.
Those teams suck too, right? So it's not like it's 2.5
and
games.
Yeah.
Like 2.5 games behind the Celtics is a bigger 2.5 than 2.5 behind the Hawks and the Bulls. All these teams suck. They're not winning games. So you go on one little streak, you're there. Like you win 3 in a row, you're there.
Right. You're not catching the Magic.
You're there.
You're not catching the Magic, the 8 seed. They're 30 and 25. No. But you can catch the Hawks or the Bulls. Get to the 9 seed.
And I think
have fun,
now you're just Cam Thomas development, Mikal. So you just. I mean, this shitty stuff, but I mean, it's depressing, but it's reality.
Time. It's time. And, it's just funny to me that a Knicks podcast broke the Nets. Like, that just makes me kind of funny. It makes me happy in a way, like in a weird way. Like Mikal Bridges and then your rant that went viral that we played at the beginning, like, it kind of just it set you off. And I think you were right on the money with it, man. And I think that's why they waited so long to drop the episode, to wait for a week when there was nothing going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know they were spreading out the episodes, but I know they recorded the first 2 on the first night because the first episode of the Roommates podcast got interrupted by Mikal Bridges walking in. So like, I'm just putting 2 and 2 together, unless he comes over every day, that I would assume that was when they recorded it. But I don't know. I could be wrong, but like at the same time, I just think it's funny to me. It's just like, poetic justice in a way, like after everything that happened over the last couple of years, that's what happened. But at the end of the day has been you've had so many examples of coaches getting fired. You can be like, where were you the last time they were fired? That coach was fired. Where were you when Atkinson got fired? Where were you when Nash got fired? And it just feels like the curse of Kenny Atkinson. Like he fell on the sword for nothing, and like they fired him for nothing, just because Kyrie didn't want to run laps and practice, So it's just, it kind of karma in a little bit, but at this point, it's just, you got, like you were saying, we've been saying it a couple times on the show. You just got to get rid of Mark. So even if he has the ability to turn it around, it's just the time it's over. It's time to get a new person in there.
Yeah, it's you need a fresh start. And I had said, if they could have had the option to trade Mikal Bridges for the Houston Rockets draft picks back, then you go into off seasons where you have all your picks, you have the Suns picks, you got Maverick picks, and let's get to work. Let's draft right. Let's develop and move forward. Now, that wasn't the game plan that they wanted to go with. If it's poetic justice, I can't go into your shoes and how you felt as a Knicks fan when everything dropped in 2019 and the Nets made the splash. I if it feels good for you still, I will never take that away from you. I see on Twitter your interactions with people, and I'm just like, in my mind, I take it as I mean this. Like when I see that you're still passionate about punishing the Nets, I look at it as a sign that they really like the impact that it had on you and how upset it made you and got you annoyed as a Knicks fan. So I see them and I just have fun with it because I'm like, at this point they suck. So it's not the same as it was when Irving was dealt, Durant was dealt. Yeah, I'm just like, all right, that you're still on it. I take it as a compliment.
I'm on it, but it's also not because of the Nets. It's because of everything that was surrounding it, the media. We've been over this 1,000 times of how it wasn't just the Nets did something. Congrats to them. It was the Nets did something. Now look at the Knicks. Ha 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 ha.
Right.
And that's what drove me crazy. And of course, now for a bunch of like 18-year-old idiots on Twitter that just because I said the Nets may be better than the Knicks earlier in the season when they had same record.
Still time.
Yeah, right. When they had the same record, I said that wow, they look good and they may be better than the Knicks this year. And then I doubled down because they still had the same record about a week or two later. And now, obviously they're not better, but like at the same time, it's like I was just saying that they may be better. You know what I mean? That doesn't take away from the fact for the last 4 years, I have been so like anti-Nets. And, now I'm Mr. Net, apparently, Mike. Did you know that?
Funny.
And, like, it's kind of funny where it's like the reason why we met was because I was being such an asshole to Nets fans.
Right.
That we met because my tweets got on your timeline because of that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it's just so funny to me that the reason why bad weather fans in this podcast exist is because I was so anti-Nets, but now just because of one thing and people hating me and using it for their own self-promotion, now I'm Mr. Net to them. So, but you know what? Fuck the Nets. That's all I have to say. I'm happy they're losing and it's great. Keep firing every coach, fire everybody, and it's amazing. I love it.
Well, you were right about one thing is the Nets are underachieving. Now, I'm not like as crazy as that sounds. They are
way more talented right now
than just a 12 game under 500. This is a team that should be hovering in the 500 zone. They should be three to four, 5 more wins. They should be better than they are. And that's not saying much. It's like a great team, but they are underachieving, which is why they had to make the move to get Vaugh out of here and make a change and find a spark for the short term. We'll see what they do in the long term. Does Marks last? Is it a possibility that maybe by the end of the season he's gone and they clean house? Who knows? I'm hopeful, not optimistic. I did have a big problem with what Mikal Bridges said on the Roommates podcast. It irritated me. And I think people that know me by now, like it takes a lot to kind of get me like that annoyed. And I think people were surprised, but Mikal Bridges went on their show and was asked about the sequence at the Barclays Center while it got very loud with Knicks fans. And Mikal talked about how he hit a 3 at about the 5-minute mark and it got like a, hey, good shot, regular ovation or whatever. And then Brunson hit a 3 with the $130 and the crowd erupted. And you could see Mikal's displeasure in that moment and then kind of just doubling down with his guys about the lack of energy from Net fans and sort of kind of playing into how loud it was with Knicks fans. And I took a lot of offense to that. On Twitter, I heard a lot of Knicks fans going, well, isn't that the truth? And I said, I haven't responded to that. And my statement would be, if you're the leader of your franchise, you don't go on a podcast with your college friends and shit on your team and you shit on the fan base. You don't do that. You sit there, you take it, you know what you're walking into, and you defend yourself and you defend the organization. I found it to be very weak. I found it to be a statement that he found it to be more important to placate to Brunson and Hart in their answers than his own teammates and fans. And Knicks fans were like, well, it's honest. There's nothing like New York City. I don't give a flying fuck. You defend your team. You do that. And this is a circumstance where he wasn't going on the Cavs podcast. He wasn't going on a Pacers podcast. He was going on a Knicks podcast. You got to sit there and you got to defend the team. You know why Knicks fans hate Richard Jefferson? Because he doesn't give a shit. to fuck around with you guys. And that's why you respect him for it. You might not like him, but he doesn't care that you're the Knicks. He was proud to be a Net, and he's proud of it. He embraced it. And that's why I love Richard Jefferson as a Net, because Knick fans would come after him and he wouldn't just go there and be like, well, it was
You're
so
right.
loud.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he'd be like, you know what I loved about being a Net? Going in the Garden and shutting you up. And that's what the kind of answers that I was hoping for. And that's the kind of answers that I love as a Net fan. Not like, oh man, yeah, you guys are so cool.
I felt like I was
so
at
loud.
MSG was his quote. I felt like I was at
Yeah, the whole thing was corny, and I found it to be very weak and
insulting to you.
insulting as a Net fan. I did. I'm not gonna, and I know Mikal Bridges, by the way, saw that, and I know he heard what I said. And I bet it's in his head too, hearing that, because then 2 days later he's tweeting about how things will be okay. Things will be okay. I promise you, he left there, and Net fans let him know that was a fucked up answer. And I hope he heard it, and I think he did.
Yeah, I mean, it had like 250,000 views, your video, so I'm sure it came across his timeline at some point. Like, you know what I mean? So, he definitely did, and you weren't the only one saying it either. So, like, he definitely heard from the fans. You know what I'm saying? And mostly yours, because you hit it like right before it, like most people heard the podcast. You were like watched it right when it like debuted, so you were right on it, and you nailed it. And honestly, I think he did hear it. I think he did feel it. I think he knows there's a way to answer the question, like you were saying. I get it. He was being honest, and that's what he was, like 100% honest, and we want that from players. But there's a way to do it publicly that doesn't embarrass your fan base. Like, don't just say, yeah, I know it was a little loud, but you know what? We're down right now, and I understand Nets fans' frustration, and we'll be back, and we'll get them, and something like that. Just spin it, and then joke about it when the podcast is over with your boys when you're having a drink. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's
why
all,
do Knicks fans hate Spencer Dinwiddie? Why do they dislike
He's a
Jared
dick.
Dudley? It's
Right,
because they
exactly.
give a shit about the Knicks,
because they were
this
team
because
Nets
they
team
were
all the way. Right,
the best friends from college. It's like, well, some people are like, what do you expect? They're friends from college. I'll tell you this right now: if I went on to a Knicks podcast and people were setting me up, I'm being dead serious here, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
If people were setting me up about something with you to like put you down, I would never do that, because you're on my team. Okay.
Right.
On my team, I would not do that. I wouldn't go on another show and be
thanks,
like,
man.
have you, or like, hey,
I'm tearing up.
no, seriously, if you went on, if I went on another show and they're like, well, how about Biseglia and his opens? Like, does it bother you that he had to redo his open one time? That's a stupid comment I'm making here, but the comp is
no. Well, if people heard your open, then they would understand that you missaid your own last name. So
I fucked it up. People, maybe I'll edit it and put it at the end. You don't do that to teammates, and it just showed.
I just did.
It showed the lack of respect. It showed the lack of respect.
I get it.
From him. Also, how Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson view the Nets and their organization. Like, they have no respect for them.
Well, they're playing the Knick card. Like, the Nets were playing the card, like Kevin Durant and Kyrie were playing the card of, the Knicks are this, and Spencer Dinwiddie played that card. Karis LeVert played that card. They all played that card, and now the Knicks are giving it back. You know what I'm saying? And because they're on top now, and they could play the your little brother, like with the Mets and the Yankees. It's the same thing. The Yankees got Soto. They might get Snell, and like they're cruising, and the Mets are getting all the Yankees cast-offs, and the Yankees are back to being like just little brother. Even though it's annoying as a Mets fan, I feel it. It hurts me, but at the same time, I understand. Like, the Mets are sitting there with Alonso in limbo, and like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? We didn't sign anybody, so I get it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to stay away from that debate because it just annoys me. But it's just the way people fall in line with their fandoms, and
at least Durant, and for as much shit as Durant happened here, he had the Nets back, and he always
played
into it when he was at the arena, and he saw a Knick fan, he thumbs down, or he tweeted about how when it was at MSG and it was loud with Net fans, he was like, "Is this like Barclays?" And it annoyed Knick fans. And it annoyed him. That's all.
Annoyed me, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you embrace it. Don't placate. Well, we were friends in college. That's not an excuse.
Yeah, if anything, he's not that kind of guy, Mikal Bridges, man. He's not a number one. He's a number two, you would think, or two or great three.
Even I don't know. I'm getting myself annoyed.
He's really, really good in his star ability, but like, I think the mentality of him just being like a sidekick, I think, just shows on that podcast a little bit. I don't know if that makes any sense, but just like, he's just like, yeah, you're right, like, kind of a thing. There's not like the fire isn't there, Let
me put it this way: if it was the Mikal Bridges podcast and those questions were reversed and Josh Hart was a Net, he would have done exactly what I was at. What I think on that
Josh,
fans
because
would
Josh
want.
Hart doesn't give a fuck. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
He would have said
Exactly.
like, I don't give a shit. He would have.
Like, who cuts my
So
checks? Exactly. Like, these are my fans. And you know what I mean? Yeah. No, I get it. So, whatever. It is what it is. And that's fire another coach. And, away we go.
are,
It is crazy. Sean Marks has more coaches fired than rounds one of the playoffs in his tenure.
yes.
So,
One, yeah.
because he wasn't there when they won with Paul Pierce, right? Or was he? No, he was hired
No, that
after
was
that, right?
Billy King.
Right.
That
So
was the
he only
Billy
has
King trade.
one round one and 3 coaches fired. The first
Leon
coach,
Rose has 2, I guess. No,
yeah,
Leon Rose has 1. Well,
one. Yeah,
no. Rose's first. No, I guess he has 2.
he has one coach though. That's it.
No, but 2 rounds 1
2 rounds one. No,
because there
one.
was the
They lost the Hawks.
No, they
First
lost the
two.
Hawks. You're right.
Yeah,
I'm just giving them more credit
that's
than
okay.
they deserve.
Well, you
Just
should have
1,
then.
2.
Listen, you love the Knicks. That's what happens, But like, no, yeah. Listen, it's no, yeah. Listen, I'm trying to collect my thoughts here, but the Nets are stuck in no man's land now, and it's going to be a rough end of the season. And unlike what Chandler Parsons says, you can't tank because you don't have your own picks.
Nope.
And
Oops.
oops is right. It just shows the lack of things, and it just the All-Star game was so bad, man. Watching that and hearing the different clips that people posted, and Spike Lee can't even say he wanted Brunson over Dame, and like it's just like, just let it go, man. Like, everybody's just trying to pick apart everybody's words. There's nothing going on. That's the problem. And the All-Star game
Yeah.
is a big deal, but like, it's so bad, and the players don't give a shit, and they're never going to give a shit. Nobody cares about your 5-point plans to fix the All-Star game. The way to fix it is to give them a bonus. People cared about in-season tournament championship because there was a $500,000 bonus. It wasn't because it was the in-season tournament championship to get the NBA Cup. It's because they were going to win $500,000.
Yeah.
Put that on the All-Star game, and I guarantee you there's fucking effort. That's it. End of story. That's I just had
it's because the All-Star game used to be so great. It used to be awesome. It used to be such a fun celebration.
But these players, they look at it as you're not paying me for this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
just
sorry,
bad basketball. It's just bad basketball, and it's all been watered down. We've seen everything a bajillion times. The best part, was the 3-point shoot off. I mean, that was, with Sabrina and Steph. I mean, that was the most interesting part, the most compelling, the most drama.
Right. It was man versus woman. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know what I think would make, here's my 5-point plan. Here's one thing I would be into.
Yeah.
Is a one-on-one of the best players going at each other. Like
one-on-one tournament. I love that.
Like the McGrady stuff.
Yeah. Game up to 3 or something and just go quick. Quick.
That would be fun.
Yeah. But they would never do that.
Then you have a final of, like that to me would be awesome to see the 2 best guys going one-on-one. Your Steph Curry versus Kyrie. I mean, that would be insane to watch.
Yeah, that'd be fun. But
that would be
they're
fun.
never going to do that.
Yeah.
Whatever. Knicks coming up. They got their next 10 games coming up, and it's going to be kind of tough. You got so let's do win-loss with them. Ready? At Philly on Thursday.
Win.
Versus Boston on Saturday.
Win.
Versus Detroit on Monday.
Loss.
Really?
I don't know.
Versus the Pelicans on Tuesday.
They're all winnable games. I mean, this is
so then you have Golden State at home at Cleveland. So that Cleveland game on Sunday, March 3rd is huge because that's for the tiebreaker, and the Knicks are already down. 4 teams already have the tiebreaker on them. I think it's the Bucks, the Celtics. Fuck. Let me pull up the tweet that I had and put it together.
I mean,
but yeah, it's bad because there's a lot of the only team the Knicks really have the tiebreaker over right now is Miami. So it's the Celtics, Bucks, Pacers, and Magic have the tiebreaker on the Knicks. So out of the top 8 teams, if you include the Knicks as one of the 8, so the top 7 teams, so that's 4 teams that have it. They only have 1 over the Heat, and then the Sixers, they have 3 games left, and they're all in the next 10 games, and the Knicks are up 1-0 in that series. And the Cavs, it's 1-1, and they only played 3 times this year. So March 3rd is for the tiebreaker, and that would be 5 teams have a tiebreaker over the Knicks if the Knicks can't beat the Cavs in that game, which would be crazy if 5 teams have the tiebreaker. I know the East is so tight that tiebreaker might loom large. It might not, but it essentially means that those teams have a half a game lead on the Knicks, extra half a game. So
I mean, are the Knicks healthy or are they not healthy? And I think to answer
really
those win-loss questions, it's really difficult
Right.
sorry. I think it's difficult to answer that. Is Julius Randle playing?
Mitchell
Is Dante
Robinson coming
even,
back, and yeah, no,
are all these guys playing? Because if they're not, my honest answer is they'll probably lose all of them or most of them. I mean,
yeah.
there's only so much Jalen Brunson can do when he has nobody else around him. If he's missing 4, 5, 6, 7 key
Listen,
players,
yeah,
any team's going to lose. Even
then
Giannis, it's going to happen.
yeah, it's true. And I mean, the Knicks can win. I mean, Giannis is losing with Doc Rivers, so but if the Knicks can win if without Randall and without Mitch, but they can't. But they can't win without Randall, Mitch, Hartenstein,
It's too
OG,
much.
like
Yeah,
Dante
it's everybody.
DiVincenzo, like Bogdanovich. Like they can't win without all those guys. But if they were down one or two guys, they can keep winning because they're good enough. But down five rotation players, four rotation players, it's almost impossible.
Yeah,
So
it's almost been forgotten now. Like, what the hell's going on with Julius Randle? We've heard nothing. We know
nothing.
nothing.
Yeah,
When the reevaluation, I mean, that'll be the key, right? When the 3 weeks time frame comes, and
yeah,
then do we get another bullshit answer? Well, we'll tell you in another 3 weeks. Then I'll go, okay, what's going on
yeah.
here? I think that's the key, right? I think
Hmm.
Anunoby's more predictable because of the surgery. I think it's a little easier to predict when he'll come back. And then all these little nagging injuries. I mean, DiVincenzo's the guy's not accustomed to playing these kind of minutes. Now he's here and he's playing 40 plus minutes every night. He's wearing down. It
Yeah.
happens. I mean,
And he doesn't have
not
to play that
shocking.
much, even with injuries. He doesn't have to. Like it's just you have Deuce McBride, you had Fournier here for a while. Like you could have played him a couple minutes. Like you know what I mean? You could have just
He won't do.
give
He
the
wouldn't
guy a
do it.
break. Like you know what
He
I'm
wouldn't do
saying?
it.
Like it's crazy, but whatever.
It's
You know, Fournier is gonna have a huge game at some point. Like he's gonna have one of those like
he can
drop 40
score.
on the Celtics or something kind of game out of nowhere.
Yeah, he could
You
do it.
know, but then he's gonna do a bunch of nothing. He stinks. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun, but yeah, it's just cautious optimism for Knicks fans right now, and myself included, because it's like have the talent to be really good to dare I say get to the finals if they're healthy, but are they healthy and who's hurt?
Yeah, I think the Celtics are the best team in the East.
Hmm.
I think that's
But health could be an issue there too, man. You know, with Porzingis is always hurt, and we'll
yeah.
see what
There's
happens there.
yeah, they're 43-12, and
Yeah.
it's funny how Tatum doesn't get almost the credit he deserves for how good he is
Hmm.
because he went to the finals 2 years ago, because they lost the finals. The Celtics are almost forgotten in a sense, but with Holiday running the show, Derek White
Yeah.
emerging as a fringe all-star, I mean, this team, I saw it firsthand with the Nets, and maybe I'm having a little recency
PTSD.
bias,
Yeah.
but God, I mean, they looked unbelievable. I mean, like the best team in the league,
Right.
by
And
far.
they're both playing their roles. Like Drew Holiday's stats are way down this year, but he's playing his role. He doesn't care. He just wants to win
Yeah,
a title. Like again. So
again,
it's just yeah, because he won that Bucks
if I
one.
have
I
to
don't know if you remember
see,
that. Do you remember that one? I
I
don't know if
hate
you remember.
oh God, the Theo Pinson podcast is starting to piss me off because what he does is he gets on guys that were on the Bucks versus the Net series. I can't remember who it was now.
Fringe players, like low, like end of the bench
And
guys.
they're
Yeah.
like, "What did you think of that net Buck series?" He was like, "Oh, we thought we lost." He's like, I already shipped my car back home." I was like, "We lost."
He
He said
said
that.
that.
And from my end, I'm sitting there watching this, going, "Fuck."
What a dick. Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about like Noah Clowney development. Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh God. Mm. Like,
That's
oh, if,
tough,
if
man.
Harden didn't get hurt, if Kyrie didn't get hurt, if Durant's toe was an inch back, I mean, you think of all these things and you go, I mean, there's no guarantee they would have beaten the Hawks in the next round, but they probably would have. And then they would
Yeah,
have seen Mikal in the finals.
it's true. It's true. It's yeah, man. The world is crazy, man. One thing doesn't happen like Back to the Future. One thing changes, you don't know what the next timeline would be. But
Yeah.
we're here now, and let's see what happens in the second half. And football's over, so basketball's going to take like the main stage here, and until like I don't think anybody really cares about pitchers and catchers in baseball, besides like the hardcore baseball fan. But what are they doing? They're standing around having to catch, like so, like big deal. But
Yeah.
it's exciting. Baseball's coming back and everything, but basketball and hockey are going to take the forefront here, and hopefully, the Knicks can win some games, and the Nets get back to relevance with Kevin Ollie and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. Just for the net fan, I think you just fight to make the play in. And I think if you're the Knicks, eh, everybody's like, well, once we get healthy, and the question is, when will you get healthy? And I will be excited to see if the Knicks are as good as everybody says they are when they're healthy. Looking forward to,
Right.
we'll see when that happens. Uh, because the seeding matters for the Knicks, Alex. You don't want to
It
be.
does.
I mean, you could realistically be the 5 seed and have a first round where you play the Sixers. And I know Knick fans don't respect the Sixers, but I promise having Embiid back as your first round matchup sounds awful. Then going to play the Bucks or Cavs, and then the Celtics, or then the Celtics. I mean, it's just Celtics will be the next round. I mean,
Yeah, Embiid might be healthy.
that's
So
what I'm
that's the
saying.
thing.
That
I
that's
know he
that's
hasn't been
huge.
great in the playoffs, but
Well,
first rounds he's good.
that's the part. Remind everybody. It was like, oh, wait till the Knicks get healthy. What do you think they're saying in Philly?
Right.
They're saying the same
Same thing.
damn thing, except the difference is it's just one guy who's very important.
What do you think the Pacers were saying when Halliburton was hurt? And they're still 31-25.
Yeah,
What I mean? So it's like,
they got through it.
Pacers are good, man. The Magic are good. The Heat were, Jimmy Butler had some personal issues and he was on and off the court, and they were always dangerous in the playoffs. Like we both saw that.
Yeah.
Like so, it's just the East is not going to be easy. There's a lot of cockiness with Knicks fans, and I understand it. We're excited, but you got to almost pump the brakes a little bit. But maybe it's just because I'm older and I've seen it. So like, kind of like, all right, let's just get to the playoffs and see what happens. And
Can't wait to hate on the
yeah.
Knicks in the playoffs.
No, you can't.
Maybe we'll get a Knicks first round playing.
Yeah, we've been begging for that for a while.
Knicks keep sliding. They're
And
hurt for a while, and they just keep sliding away.
slipping.
They move to
slipping.
the 7, then they lose that first round matchup, and they get the pesky Nets. That would be so embarrassing if you lost in the play-in versus the Nets. That would be
That would be really bad.
that'd be really bad.
Really, really bad.
It'd almost be worth it. That wouldn't be worth it, but
God. Can you imagine going from here to getting everybody fired because they lost in the play-in tournament to the Nets?
That'd be unbelievable. I'd be on a Cam Thomas half-court heave in Game 7.
So funny. I saw a funny tweet from Spike Eskin that he runs WFAN and he's going to take over WIP in Philly in the afternoon.
Well, he's going to afternoon take over. Yeah, I keep losing my voice.
Going to be the Evan Roberts in Philly, basically, guys. So
okay.
Just in case. So he had a funny tweet today that I retweeted. He goes, current NBA preseason doesn't matter. Regular season doesn't matter. All-Star doesn't matter. Playoffs, too ring culture obsessed, doesn't matter. Good plan in a world where there are more content options than ever. At least I can make the Pacers game look like Spider-Man. Because they had the NBA AI presentation. Like, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody saw that, but Google that or YouTube that. It was like Adam Silver and Wemby were up there, and they said make the game Spider-Man, and it was like a comic book basketball game. It was so stupid.
Hey, the regular season does matter. I vouch for that. It does matter.
It matters to a point.
Oh,
like,
stop!
You got to get there, and you got to stay there.
Shut
but
up! No. You
doesn't
can't
really matter.
It does. It does matter.
You got to be in shape, and you got to be cohesive.
You got to be ready,
teammates, and you got to be ready for the playoffs. It's a big tune-up for the playoffs. For
yes,
the
but you can't just go in there and expect to flip a switch.
Fine, it doesn't matter as much as it should, but it doesn't really matter.
Like to me, it matters for teams that want to win a championship.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Well, I'm telling you that unless you're just overloaded with talent, it does matter.
The Knicks need to get healthy before the playoffs. Keep saying it. Need to get healthy before the playoffs. They need time to gel. I hate that term. They need time to gel, but they do, especially with all these new players. If they played all together last year and they didn't just add Bogdanovich and Alec Burks and OG and these guys, and Precious, then I'd be like, fine, just get to April, play a couple games, and get ready for the playoffs. But with all of these new players, they need to know how to play together. They can't have with the lights of the brightest game 1 of the Eastern Conference first round, and this is their first game or their 10th game playing together. Like they need at least a month, maybe a little more together, healthy for the most part. Maybe 1 or 2 guys are not there, fine, but like you need to get rolling here because it's not going to work out if you don't. Like you'll get steamrolled real quick.
How's the appeal going?
Oh, I don't know, but it would be funny if they lose the appeal to what the hell was the team? I already forgot. What the hell was the team? The
I'll give you
Rockets.
a clue. No,
The Rockets. Yeah, I totally forgot, man. It feels like a forever ago that happened. It was only a week ago,
do you
and
think that was the worst loss for the Knicks versus the Rockets in their history?
I'd say probably the fifth worst loss in their
Okay.
history. Yeah,
Okay.
fifth worst.
Okay.
But
They're
that
not
was,
winning.
awful call, but we've been through that. And if they do win the appeal and they play the overtime and they still lose,
They're not winning the appeal.
they're
They
not.
just don't change. They don't do it on human foul calls. It's
No,
more
because it's
it's
all
other things.
subjective. If it was
Right.
like,
They just
yeah,
don't change
yeah,
it because then you're opening up Pandora's box, as they say, for teams to challenge. Like there was a bad call, but you did it with the Knicks. You did it with the Knicks, and you just open yourself up
they got
to
to move
that
on. And
ridicule.
they got to move on.
No,
They
yeah,
can't
it doesn't
obsess over this
matter.
game. It doesn't matter. It's one game. You still have a good record, but I do like the fact that it's on the books and maybe they can use this in the offseason to get replay expanded. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like make it at least in the last 2 minutes, like football, especially the last 2 minutes of the game, where it's like it's just from the replay center in Secaucus is making the call. Like, no,
Right.
hey, listen, guys, you got to look at this. Hey, he was out of bounds. Let's flip this really quick. Let's get your piece. Things like that. Don't make it like you can't challenge a terrible call in the second quarter because you need your challenges for the last minute or few minutes
Right.
of the game. Like that's just unfair. It should be about getting the calls right. And you have the technology. You're going to make a basketball game look like Spider-Man, but you can't do a replay in 10 seconds. Like it's just give me a break. Get your AI going and let's get the calls right.
Oh man, you're just trying to help Tibbs out. That's all. You're just trying to
That's
give
it,
Tibbs more
man.
of an advantage.
My guy now. Yeah.
Give him more of an advantage. And
Oh man, how did we get here, Mike?
maybe
How did we
Mikal
get
listens to this
here?
podcast.
Maybe he does. Hey, Mikal, you want to come
What's up,
on?
Mikal?
Talk to us?
Well,
Let's
I
have a
invited Josh
conversation.
Hart on. I haven't gotten a request back.
No, no.
I don't think he's gonna do it.
We need to get some guests on. We'll get some guests on soon. We just had a
Uh,
rough schedule with the babies and everything, but we'll get some guests on for you guys soon.
by the way, annoyed too. Um, from the roommates podcast, they do a good job because I guess they're getting
Yes.
me
Talk
interested.
Yes.
But when the guys were like, oh, it's the Knicks. Basically, every road game is home. They named like 4 teams.
I can give you a bunch of teams right now. I can look it up because I tweeted about it once and people have given
It's
their
the Hornets,
answers. Hornets,
the Magic.
Philly.
But I'm talking about teams. There's like 4 arenas where the Knicks make loud
Charlotte,
noises.
Brooklyn, Atlanta, Miami, Washington, Philly, Orlando.
Philly doesn't count
Why?
because the Philly
There was a game this year
there was
where they
a
were
game, but I'm talking about longevity of it. Philly doesn't count. Yes,
okay.
there was a game. Sixers made noise at the Garden, but we won't
So
mention
mad.
we won't mention that. We won't mention that.
Well, you got to look at cities where there's a lot of New Yorkers. Atlanta, there's a
Yes.
lot of New Yorkers. Charlotte, there's a lot of New Yorkers. Everybody took the
Oh, I'm
run down
so
south to
anti
get out
right now.
Yeah,
I opened my yearbook up and
your high school yearbook, not like
my
your
8th grade yearbook.
Yes. Oh, your eighth
And
grade yearbook.
I was moving shit around in the attic and I found it. I'm like, oh, let me read some of these comments. No joke.
That's how
Nets
you read
suck.
comments back in the day before the internet. By
Or
the way,
not comments.
you're
Memos.
signing in the yearbook. Like
Yeah. It was like I can't. I
read these
had
comments.
I showed them to you. It was all these like Nets
Yeah.
suck. I was like, this
Knicks
is
rule,
where
Nets
this comes
suck.
from.
Yeah, Mike. That's why Mike hates the Knicks. He
Like
was
you could
teased
see it
about
happening in real time.
Hey man, I get that. I was teased about being a Jets fan, Mets fan, the whole thing. Not the Knicks though. The Knicks were kings of the world when I was growing up. That was amazing. That was fun.
Yeah, not
It
anymore.
was just really crazy to see. I've told the story before on the podcast, but the first time I ever saw the Knicks sucking and being really bad, and even imagining that, was in the movie Eddie, because that was when they were really bad. Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah,
When
I didn't mind that
came
Knick
out in the
team.
'90s, and I
I didn't
saw it in
mind
the
that Knick
theaters.
team.
Yeah.
They didn't get on my
With John
nerves.
Sally, Mark
Dwayne
Jackson.
Shinches.
Yeah, Malik Sealy, rest in peace. So Dwayne Shinsis, rest in peace too. Wow, two people.
Yeah. When did the Knicks first get bad? 2003 did it start?
So they were in the Eastern. They were in the finals in '99. I don't know if you heard that. Then 2000 were Eastern Conference Finals. 2001, it was the first round that were out. Then they were out of it for 02, 03. 04 is when your favorite series, when the Nets smacked the Knicks.
That was a first round exit.
And then they hit the doldrums from like 05 to mellow in like 10. you know.
So
But like
that was
they
when
turned it
the
around like
stretch
09,
happened.
08 when they were like Donnie Walsh took over and stuff. But that was the real doldrums, because then the mellow years are 3 straight years of playoffs, and then the back end of Phil, and then Porzingis, and then now this run. So
Yeah, and
it
then I
hasn't been
guess
20 straight years of shit. So that's just a myth, just so you know,
and then before
because
that, I guess it was, then Ewing and just all the Pacers, the Heat, the Bulls, and
right,
just always falling short.
right, right. Pacers, Heat, Bulls, Spurs, uh,
Spurs,
yeah,
gentlemen
Raptors. They
sweep.
lost to once, I think, in the playoffs with Vince Carter. I think they lost once to them. I think.
I know they played each other, but I don't remember who won that series actually.
I think. I don't know. Whatever.
Hmm. Well,
But anyway,
we're
now we're
back.
here.
We're
Yes, we're
here.
back. We're back. We're
Knicks are
here.
back, man. Knicks are
Knicks
back.
are back. Let's go. Let's go Knicks. There were
Jacque
dogs.
Vaughn fired, by the way. We started the podcast with that.
Mike hates the Mikal Bridges.
I
You
don't hate
know,
Mikal Bridges.
you
Don't
hate
say that.
him. You hate
No, I do
Mikal
not. I
Bridges.
do not. I don't hate anybody.
You hate
I do
Mikal
not
Bridges.
hate anybody. I do not
You
hate
want
him.
him traded, right? If he was traded right now, it's not possible. But if he was traded right now, would you
Well,
be
if it was
okay?
for the Rocket, no, that's not necessarily true. I don't want to just make a trade to make a trade. But if you're
Yeah.
going to recoup your assets from the Rockets deal and start
Right.
over,
The Rockets did offer the trade. So the Nets traded Harden to the
that's
Rockets, or
different.
Harden was traded to the Nets, and the Nets gave the Rockets all their picks, and the Rockets offered to take Bridges and give them their picks back, and the Nets said no. So you would do that trade.
Yeah, I don't dislike Mikal. I mean,
Mhm.
if I just that annoyed me. I'm being honest, but
But he can redeem himself. You never know. Maybe
yeah.
come
I
out.
mean, what does he care? Who am I? But that just
Mike
annoyed
Biseglia.
me. I just don't. You
Yeah.
protect your fan base
Right.
and just sitting there and like they're all like smiling and not trying to laugh. And the one thing when Jalen's like, I didn't say it. It's like, oh, guys,
Maybe it was Mikal Bridges' plan to do this and just to
stop
get
it.
Jacque Vaughn fired,
No,
to like
stop
get
it.
him out of there. And like he did this on purpose. It was all part of his
Yeah,
evil
that's
genius
what they
plan.
did. Go Nets. Mm,
Maybe.
yeah.
But listen, hire Rick Brunson and you guys will be set for the next 2 years. You'll get Jalen in 2 years.
No,
and,
Jalen won't even come here. He won't even do it. What is Rick
Oh
Brunson's
man.
role?
Brunson, he's assistant coach, but he just is there to just get in Brunson's ear. Basically, he's the only one who could check Brunson because Brunson runs the franchise right now.
Yeah.
So it's good to have somebody there that actually can check him. It's your dad.
I always thought that'd be interesting if you're like in the NBA and your dad's with you. I don't know. That's like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, do you want that? Like, oh, we're going out
I mean,
tonight.
I fucking wouldn't want that. I mean, like, I don't want my dad around now. Like, nah, I love him, but like, he's in Florida. Like, he stayed down there in Florida. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's good.
Well,
That even that's too close. You know what I'm saying? But like, no, I love him. I'm just kidding. But
no.
it's weird because you feel like you're a man and you're a millionaire and you're the king of New York, but like your daddy's there and telling you what to do.
No,
You know,
a
so
little. I mean, I think it's something. I don't know. My dad listens to this podcast too, by the way. So I love you, Dad. I don't know. Yeah. It's just as as an NBA player that your dad's always there, and then it's like, do you say coach or does like guys go to him because it's his dad and be like, hello, Mr. Brunson? Because it's like, how does that work?
I don't know, man. That's some shit. I don't
Mm.
know. But you know how it is. Like parents, can say something to you and it cuts deeper in a way that other people don't say something
Yes,
to you.
that's the
So
point.
like that, but it's good and bad because you
True.
can check him. Like I said, you can get in his face, like, bro, what the fuck were you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm sure he wouldn't call his son bro, but like he'd be like, son, what the fuck were you doing?
Son, what the fuck were you doing? I don't know, Dad.
He
Maybe
does get in
your
his
friend
face.
Tom doesn't know what he's doing.
You know what's funny? Shout out to Anthony Donahue. He brought this up to me, and I can't get it out of my head now every time I see it. Rick Brunson on the sidelines always has his hands in his pockets. You'll notice that now.
Yeah,
His
he's
hands are
right.
always
right.
in his pockets.
So does Jason Kidd.
Does he? Oh, he was one of those? Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Well, and on that note, I think that's the end of the
You want to talk about who
podcast.
else has their hands in their pocket?
Who's
The other
playing
one's
pocket
giving a
pool?
high five.
You're playing pocket pool?
You ever play pocket pool?
Not in public. That's
God. Yeah, I hope not.
okay. Let's go to bed.
Bad Weather Fans gets canceled from Alex with a penis exposure. Okay.
No
goodbye.
thanks. Okay. Have a
Download the
good one.
podcast. Jacque Vaughn fired.
Please.
Alex plays pocket pool, and
Yeah.
That's the end of this. I'll talk
Yes.
to you later.
All right. Bye.
All right, bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. In 3, 2, 1. That's right. This is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 209. Mike Biseg.
What's your
Let's
name?
do it again.